All right, we are in Joshua, chapter 9, verse 19. I just couldn't quite see that little number there. It's a little bit... You know what? Fine. I'm about to... Today, I haven't had much sleep here recently in the last couple of days. I went camping with kids, and so I'm just tired, and I think it's affecting my sight, and I can't see anything either. So forgive me. I'm going to have to do one of these today and, look like one of those senators that, looks at you over his nose. I think they all do that, but, some have glasses and it's more obvious. Okay. You got your camera on? No, record? Yes, sir. We're going. Okay. But all the leaders said to the whole congregation, "We have sworn to them by the Lord, the God of Israel, and now we cannot touch them." Now, quick reference, if you don't remember, they had one of the nations within their, of Gideon, within their area, within their land, come to them asking for them to be friends and make a treaty, and acted like they were from a long way away, even though the reality was Gibeon was just, short distance away. Well, they fooled them. Why? Because the Israelites didn't ask God before making a deal with them. Pretty dumb idea, and they should know this. It's when they've attacked people without talking to God first, how'd that work out for them? And this time they decided to enter a contract without talking to God, or an oath, however you want to look at it. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. This we will do to them, even let them live, so the wrath will not be upon us for the oath which we swore to them. The leaders said to them, "Let them live, so they can become hewers of wood and drawers of water for the whole congregation, just as the leaders had spoken to them." Now, keep in mind, by doing this, they're letting them live.
19 what?
No.
I'm at 19, but I can't.
Joshua 9, verse 19.
Ah.
Yeah, 9:19. See, double nines there through y'all. So they're trying to figure a way to at least make them useful. And from these people's standpoint, it's got to be better to be a slave than be dead. And those seem to be the options for them right now. So I can see where this country is going, or this city is going, hey, this is still better than the other alternatives. Then Joshua called for them and spoke to them, saying, this is on 22 now, "Why have you deceived us, saying, 'We are very far away from you,' when you are living within our land? Now, therefore, you are cursed, and you shall never cease being slaves, both hewers of wood and drawers of water for the house of my God." So they answered Joshua and said, "Because it was certainly told your servants that the Lord your God has commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land, and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land before you. Therefore, we greatly feared for our lives because of you, and have done this thing." Now, a couple of things. One, this tells you that gossip has never stopped. Gossip's been going on forever. Why? Because this is what was being told to the nation of Israel, right? Back while Moses was still alive, that they were going to have this promised land, and the description and what that land entailed. These are people outside of the region that know exactly where they're going to take, which land they believe is theirs. And so all these people, they've already got all the information. Even though they're not Israelites, news travels fast, right? So they already know what's going on, so they're deciding, okay, either we got to leave, we've got to fight and die, or maybe we can make a truce with them. I suppose better to be a slave than be dead. So they went with that. So they answered Joshua and said, "Because it is certainly told your servants that the Lord your God has commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land before you. Therefore we greatly feared for our lives because of you, and have done this thing. Now behold, we are in your hands. Do as it seems good and right in your sight to us." Thus he did to them, and delivered them from the hands of the sons of Israel, and they did not kill them. Now see, here's the contradiction, though. The problem is, Israel's kind of in trouble either way, right? Because what else has God told them? Kill everybody in the land. Well, now they're not killing everybody in the land, but if they kill everybody in the land, then they're going to violate their oath. So, how does that work out? Because they're already going to take the promised land, but they're also not going to do what God told them to do. They're already in trouble. Just something to think about there, because I think that plays a part in their ongoing, or in the long term, how long they get to keep the promised land. I don't think it's as long as they want, because they didn't follow what God said. Why? Because they went out and did things on their own. If they'd referenced and talked to God, prayed about it before doing it, that's fine. This wasn't something where they had to make a split decision. They could have told them, okay, wait here, we're going to go pray about it, we'll be back. We'll let you know what we find out. I think that's one of the things that we do in our lives sometimes. We think we have to have an answer right now and say, well, I'm just going to make a decision. No, you really don't. Sorry.
Yeah, my problem, and maybe others, is I'll do something and then ask God to bless it.
Yeah.
Of course, it's already out of the bond.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's what they've done. I think they do here. Say, okay, we messed up. And that's something that I know I do, because I think sometimes that, somebody asks me something, and I assume you need an answer right now. Well, no. I could probably say, look, I'm going to get back to you, and I'll give you an answer. No. Everything doesn't have to be right now. Sometimes you can just say, well, I'll give you an answer tomorrow. You need to...
They say God has three answers to prayer. Yes, no, and not now.
Yeah, well, wait, I think is the better. Well, I think wait is the better response for the third answer, because it's not necessarily not now, it's just wait. I'm not going to give you an answer, just wait. Yeah, well, I don't know. To me, it's a little different, but I get the point. But I think that's what's important, is that we need to realize that you can say, well, you have to give me, I need to pray about this before answering. Because some people, ask, well, will you serve on this committee, or you serve on that committee? I don't need to come back with an answer right away. I need to think about, stop and pray. Say, God, is this what you want me to do? I don't always do that, because sometimes I kind of like to do that. Doesn't matter. Stop. Ask if that's what I need to be doing before I go do it.
Yeah, I remember when we had our one and only outdoor service. Julie and I converged at the collection box at the same time, and she asked me how Miss Betty was doing. And I said she's not going to be able to come back. God mercy. And I asked Julie, would you take her place? And she said, let me pray on it this week.
Yeah. But that's the better solution. I mean, because sometimes we want to fill in and help people, but that's not always the right thing to do. Other times, sometimes the question's coming and you ask beforehand, and you know the answer because you've already asked, because you knew it was coming. Other times, people catch you off guard, and you're like, well, I didn't think about, those are the ones you need to make sure you think about it first. 'Cause I think they got caught off guard, and like, I'm in charge now. It's a power trip, because they know I'm going to kill them. This is good. So they're afraid of me. I'm important. They're afraid of me. This is great. They're coming begging to be our servants. This is right. We got them right where we want them. And they said they're not in our land. Of course, we believe everybody. That's the first thing. That's why, again, you got to pray about things. Can't always believe what people tell you, can you? You don't have to. Floyd doesn't have to say, especially if they're a politician. We all know that. Okay. Now it came about when Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, heard that Joshua had captured Ai and utterly destroyed it, just as he had done to Jericho and its king, so he had done to Ai and its king, and that the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and here within their land. That he feared greatly, because Gibeon was a great city, like one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all of its men were mightier. Therefore, Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, sent word to Hoham, king of Hebron, and to Param, king of Jarmuth, and to Japhia, king of Lachish, and to Debir, king of Eglon, saying, Come up to me and help me, and let us attack Gibeon, for it has made peace with Joshua and with the sons of Israel. Now, in just a minute, you know what's going to happen. They're going to end up going together to fight Gibeon. Now, here's my thought. If you're Israel, wouldn't now be a great time to not defend your servants and follow God's will for you and get them out of the picture? And wait, and when all the fighting's done, show up, and these people have been fighting for a day or 2 days or 3 days, just annihilate them. With God's blessing, of course, but you already know you have God's blessing because He's already told you to clean all this out, but you got time to pray about it. But let's see what actually happened. This is just my thought. That just seemed like a good... That's right. Kill them all, let God sort them out. That's, yeah. I hate to say it, but, So the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, and the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon, gathered together and went up, they with their armies, encamped by Gibeon, and fought against it. Then the men of Gibeon sent word to Joshua to the camp at Gilgal, saying, Do not abandon your servants. Come up to us quickly and save us and help us. For the kings of the Amorites that live in the hill country have assembled against us. Now here's the other thing. Let's get logistics here. They're probably, I think they're about 20 miles away. Okay, so these 5 kings have shown up, and I don't care if you send somebody, if you see them coming and you decide to go to Gilgal and call, ask for help, you even put somebody on a horse, it's still a little bit of time to get 20 miles, right? I mean, even going full out, that's going to take a little time. So I'm just trying to put things in perspective because we think of instant communication. Whoa, quick, grab your cell phone, call 911. Even if you call 911 today, especially if you live out here in the country, how long do you think before police are going to show up? When seconds count, the cops are only minutes away. This is reality. In this case, we think that, and that's kind of a tagline for some people for carrying guns today. My point in saying this is that at this time, just again, referencing how things are today, then they're calling, going, hey, this army's assembling around time matters. Okay, we got to send a rider 20 miles away. They're not even going with smoke signals, telegraph. This is, some time to get over there. And then you've got to wait on Israel what's Israel going to do? Drop everything and literally, quick, grab the men, let's run. Really? I'm thinking, man, I need a few supplies. At least let me get a backpack together, right? Let me get some food and some water. I got a 20-mile hike. I at least need to carry some water.
My study Bible says it was uphill between the...
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. So and through brush too, it says in some commentaries too. So there was heavy brush going through it. So you think about doing this, there's not even a paved road in between the two. There's not even a stone road. There's not even a cutout. And you know that if Israel brings everybody, we'll get to that in just a second, you're talking about a huge number, tens of thousands of people showing up. This is a quick challenge. So you got to understand that Gibeon is going to be surrounded for a bit. This isn't going to happen quickly. And I guess that's my point, because I know when you read through all this stuff, we read, okay, this happens, and they go here, then they go here, then they go here. We don't think about that that's not so instantaneous. And that, man, this is a serious trek. This is a journey, even when it's 20 miles. When's the last time any of you walked 20 miles? Even those that have been in the military, when's the last time you walked 20 miles? So I'm just trying to put this in perspective so that we think about how this works. Okay. So Joshua went up from Gilgal he and all the people of war with him, and all the valiant warriors. So they're going to go up there, but keep in mind, he still had to organize them. They had to get their stuff together, right? I mean, that's kind of a given. Then they've got their tools of war, weapons of war together, and their supplies. Now they got 20 miles to go, and his mom said, uphill. The Lord said to Joshua, do not fear them, for I've given them into your hands. Not one of them shall stand before you. So at least you know that Joshua has talked to Yahweh about this and said, hey, are we good with, should we go support them or no? Because we could let them get killed. We could follow your goal for us. But God's like, nope, you made a deal. You need to go take care of them, basically. So Joshua came upon them suddenly by marching all night from Gilgal. And the Lord confounded them before Israel, and he slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and pursued them by the way of the ascent of both Beth Horon, and struck them as far as Ezekah and Makkedah. As they fled from before Israel while they were at the descent of Beth Horon, the Lord threw large stones from heaven on them as far as Ezekah, and they died. There were more who died from the hailstones than those whom the sons of Israel had slaughtered with the sword. So, a couple of things here to understand. First off, that they surprised them. They were confused. Now, you have to understand why they would be confused. First off, they're just trying to, these 5 kings are there trying to take Gibeon over. But they're thinking they're just attacking Gibeon. They're not thinking about 20 miles away where the Israelites are. They just arrive and they think, okay, we're going to set up for the siege. We're going to get ready. And, since we're going to have them under siege, nobody's going to be able to get out. So they're not going to be able to send a message over to the Israelites. So they're getting all set up. They've got they're guarding the gates. And, I don't know if there's one gate or multiple. They're guarding the gates. And while they're sitting there, yep, I'm watching that gate, Israel comes up behind them. Now, I don't know how many people these 5 kings had, but it was significant. I mean, you had 5 different large cities. So you can do the math and figure out it's a pretty good bit of people. And you've got all of them focused here on this city. They're focused on Gibeon. There's not somebody turning around looking at their back. There are no satellite images. Hey, we just got reports there are like 50,000 people coming at us from behind. No. And I guess this is a little more poignant to me, and maybe God did this timing-wise. I don't know. So I went on a camping trip Friday night with my boys and some others, and I was just a chaperone there. Part of this was also going to the battle scene of Shiloh, if you all know something about that. So we sat and had a park ranger give us a tour, not a walking tour, a driving tour, because there's so much area to go through, that kind of gave some perspective of in between these talking points when he's telling, okay, here's where it started. Here's what happened. We were driving for, 3 or 4 minutes sometimes just to get to the next stop at the Battle of Shiloh. These people that were actually there, they're going that distance. I mean, we're driving between 10 and 20 miles an hour, depending, in between stops. How long do you think it takes this huge army of people to get from place to place? And I guess in some ways it put things in a little bit more perspective. I always try to think about this stuff, but after that tour I just took yesterday morning, it's a little bit more relevant to me because I just did a tour of just one battleground, and this is 20 miles in between. This battleground in Shiloh wasn't that large. I mean, it's large, but not that large. And so, they explain things like, okay, well, you see this marker way out there. And like, yeah, I see us out, this red marker out in the middle of a field. I said, okay, this is where, where you're standing is where there was an army of 300 men. And down there is where there's an army of like 4,000. Yeah. And so they did the usual response. Hey, friend or foe? Boom! There's your answer. Okay? Makes you not want to be the guy that says friend or foe, right? But the point of it being it's a distance away, and they don't know who they are. Why? Because everybody's dressed pretty similar. It's not like you got uniforms to see who you're with. And they didn't know who it was, and then they didn't know how many there were. Now you've got Israelite, based on, they're coming up this hill out of underbrush and all this. They have no idea how many people were even behind them. So yes, they're absolutely confused. Like, what? Whoa, wait, what's going on? Because they're like coming out of the woods, heavy brush. And that's something they were showing us, at this Battle of Shiloh. It's the same thing. People they show up, they don't know who's there. They don't know the directions. They don't know the lay of the land. Wait a minute. Is the river over here where our supplies are? Or is it over here? It's one of the things that the guide asked us. Okay, so you see the distance away, how this all came down. Now, I want you all to point, where's the Tennessee River from here, basically? Where's the landing? This way. Or maybe it's over here. I don't, everybody's pointing somewhere different. Yes, Jonathan got it right. But the point being that you have people pointing all kinds of different directions. Why? Because you get turned around. Especially when you're somewhere you don't know. You can put me down anywhere on my property. I can tell you, I can point straight to the house. I know my land. But when you're somewhere that you're not used to being, that can be a problem. And I don't know which way is which. And he gave that yesterday as a good example. He said, you look up and go, okay, I know it's to the east. Look up. It's a cloudy day. You can't see anything. I don't even know where the sun is. I don't know where east, west, north, south. I'm turned around. Last time I was at Shiloh, I was in 8th grade. I didn't have a clue. My point is, that's what these people are dealing with. So when they're out there fighting Gibeon, when they're fighting Gibeon, they're focused on that. When these people show up, no wonder they're confounded. They don't know what's going on because they don't even know how many people are behind them. Is this just a small group or is this tens of thousands of people? They don't know. They are really kind of struck here, if you will. So then they end up, you have to figure, they fight for a while. This isn't quick. All right. When you get into battle, you're fighting. You get tired. You get worn out. But here, starting in 11, as they fled, think about this. As they're fleeing, which means that you're winning. Do you want to let them go, or do you want to finish this? As they fled from before Israel, while they were on the descent of Beth Horon, the Lord threw large stones from heaven on them as far as Azekah, and they died. And there were and there were more who died from the hailstones than those who died from the sons of Israel, killing with the sword. So they're not only confused, but they're running away. And as they're trying to get away, now God decides to start getting involved. He's throwing stones. Maybe that's why God's into stoning people to death for doing things in Israel. Maybe I'm going to show you by example how you throw a stone. Let me show you.
No Israelites.
Yeah. No, Israel's not hit. Tell me those stones weren't guided by God. This wasn't people want to say, oh, well, it was an avalanche nearby and some stones bounced up. That's all. Oh, there was actually a volcano that erupted and it threw some stones down. And, they don't talk about it, but it kills Israelites too. No, they talk about it doesn't kill Israelites. Then Joshua spoke to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the sons of Israel, and he said in the sight of Israel, O sun, stand still at Gibeon, and O moon in the valley of Ajalon. So the sun stood still and the moon stopped until the nation avenged themselves of their enemies. So think about it this way. If you're fighting, this is probably not a short fight. Okay, even if there's no resistance, how long is it going to take you? Again, no resistance, assuming that was the case, and that isn't. How long would it take you to kill roughly 30,000 people? I'm thinking it's going to take a while. It's not going to happen in 5 minutes. It's not going to necessarily happen in 5 hours, and that's if they don't fight. Even if you got 30,000 on 30,000, and everybody has a sword, which probably wasn't the case. You go out there to try to fight all these people, Just walking around 30,000 people. So, okay, everybody got your man and ready? And they're all just standing there waiting to die. Okay, commence killing. I mean, I know it's kind of joking, but then again, not. This isn't quick. This takes time. Even if God's on your side and you're winning and nobody's hurt, except the bad guys, so what? It's not quick. So they got there. They walked all night to get there, okay? So that they could attack in the morning. Which is another reason they were surprised. But the thing is, they start this attack. It still takes all day because they are fighting back. You might be winning, but that doesn't mean they're not fighting back. And so if you think about the time, it's probably getting close to sundown. If the sun goes down, typically at that time, historical reference, and again, this was brought up at Shiloh yesterday, which is why I think God put this timing just right for me to get this. Because what they said is that in one of the attacks, the Confederate army could have gone on and killed this one particular group. But it was sundown. So you really couldn't see what you're aiming at anymore. So they said, well, you know what? We're all really tired anyway. The sun's gone down. You can't see anything. You can't see who or what you're shooting at. So we could pursue them, but guys, we haven't had a good meal for a while, and we just won this battle. They left all their supplies behind. Let's go get some food. Let's get a night's rest. In the morning, we're going to go get up, and we're going to go after them, and we'll track them down, and we'll kill them in the morning when the sun comes up. Well, the Union officers, they're like, one of the diaries, the guy said, I felt like I was being chased by a cannonball. I just couldn't stop. I couldn't stop running. I ran the entire way back to Tennessee River to get back there. And guess what? There were reinforcements coming. If the Confederates had gone ahead and said, you know what, we're going to push through this. We're going to kill these people. They would have eliminated that army. But they didn't. And here, it's the same thing. If Israel didn't go ahead and go after these people, God might say, what are you doing? I gave you these people. Go kill them. You need to finish this. Same concept. So this is where Joshua's like, hey, we need the light to see what the heck we're doing. Hey, Yahweh, would you mind? Just hold everything where it is. Keep the sun and moon right where they are, and we're going to finish this. That's what I think happened. And to me, that makes more sense after what I was being taught yesterday about what happened and why in wars a lot of times. Because these weren't trained armies, right? Either Israel or the Confederacy. They weren't trained up. They were just farmers that decided they were going to fight. This is Israel. They've been wandering in the desert. They haven't been doing training drills. Well, they had God on their side. They didn't need to do training drills. But they needed to finish this. God told Joshua, you've got these people. I'm giving them to you. And he even killed a lot of them for him. He killed more than they did, from what it just said. But they still needed to see what was going on. And so that's why I think he said this. It wasn't some random, I don't know why he did that. No, he did it for a reason. He did it so he could see what they were doing. Is it not written in the book of Jashar, and the sun stopped in the middle of the sky, did not hasten to go down for a whole day? There was no day like that before it or after it, when the Lord listened to the voice of a man. For the Lord fought for Israel. Then Joshua and all Israel with him returned to the camp at Gilgal. So everything stopped for a day. We always talk, and people like to talk about this, people that aren't Christians typically. Oh, the earth was not created in one day. Man was not created in one day. Well, one day, you don't know what they meant when they say one day. It was one day, 24. How did they measure 24 hours? Was it really 7 days? Was it 48 hours compared to our day? No, right here. A day is a day. There was no day like this before it or after it. And obviously, to them, a day is when sun goes up goes down, comes up again in the morning. Okay, you got a day. So they made that really clear right now what a day is, and just said there's never been a day like this before or since. But everything stopped. And then people want to say, oh, see, they stopped. That means that the earth should have still been moving because, the earth rotates. Everybody says the earth rotates around the sun. Some people say at the time they thought the sun rotated around the earth. It doesn't matter either way. It doesn't prove anything other than everything stopped. That's what you have to get out of this. Not what's rotating around what. That was an argument for years too, related to this verse in particular. That's where some people got their information is, well, then that means you're extrapolating into something that they're not talking about. This is just, the sun and the moon stayed still where they were. Did everything else? I assume it was probably simple for God to go, everything stop, all stop, and just wait. And I think that's what happened. And I'll go a little further because, again, people that aren't Christians do this. And so I want to give you the material to argue this. They say, well, if the earth stopped spinning, that you'd probably stumble one way or the other. Why? Because you're used to moving. You adjust and stand with the assumption that the earth is spinning, you're spinning, and gravity is affected. So you're saying all that stopped. No, I didn't say that at all. I said the sun and moon, according to this, stopped where they were. I just think it was probably easier for God to go, okay, I'll stop. Why? He's God. You think he's worried about how gravity works? He knows. He invented it, okay? So he doesn't need to explain it to you. So I just try to take the extra step there. Okay. So picking up in 16. Now, these 5 kings had fled and hidden themselves in the cave at Makkedah. It was told Joshua, saying, the 5 kings have been found hiding in the cave at Makkedah. Joshua said, roll large stones against the mouth of the cave and assign men by it to guard them. But do not stay there yourselves. Roll a stone in front of it and set some guards up. Does that sound like any other story in the Bible to you? I don't know. It seems really familiar. Okay. Pursue your enemies and attack them in the rear. Do not allow them to enter their cities, for the Lord your God has delivered them into your hand. Yeah, he stopped the sun. He killed over half of them himself. He's giving you every advantage, making sure the sun doesn't go down. They've been fighting all day, but wouldn't you rather finish that fight than have to sleep and get up, be sore the next day, and do it again? I mean, how many times when you're working, you look out, like, you're out there chopping wood, say manually. Sure, all of you probably, all the guys in here probably at least have done that. You're out there chopping wood, and you're down to about, I got a small pile over here left. Sun's starting to go down. Do I want to be sore in the morning and have to finish this up, or do I just want to stay out there another hour and call it a day and be done with it? And I think this is kind of what's being alluded to here. Finish this. All right? It came about when Joshua and the sons of Israel had finished slaying them with a very great slaughter until they were destroyed, and the survivors remained of them had entered the fortified cities, that all of the people returned to the camp to Joshua at Makkedah in peace. No one uttered a word against any of the sons of Israel. Then Joshua said, open the mouth of the cave and bring these 5 kings out to me from the cave. They did so, and brought these 5 kings out to him from the cave, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, and the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. When they brought these kings out to Joshua, Joshua called for all the men of Israel and said to the chiefs of the men of war who had gone with him, come near, put your feet on the necks of these kings. So they came near, and they put their feet on their necks. Now think about it. What would be more humiliating as a king? Be down with somebody getting their foot on your neck, because you know they're in charge. You know what's about to happen because you've ordered it before to somebody else, but now it's about to happen to you. So I think this was also a humiliation thing. It wasn't that they were just going to kill him. It was the fact that they were humiliating him. And I think that was really the intent. Joshua then said to them, do not fear or be dismayed. Be strong and courageous, for thus the Lord will do to all your enemies with whom you fight. So afterwards Joshua struck them and put them to death. And he hanged them on 5 trees, and they hung on the trees until evening. Okay, so let's go through this again. Impaled versus hung. Depends on what your Bible says, right? Some of them hang, some of them had them on a pole. Looking at more references, more likely they impaled them. They weren't in, Israel wasn't in the practice of hanging people. They impaled them, put them on a pole. But they also didn't leave things people hanging or impaled overnight. They weren't like Vlad the Impaler, okay? They didn't leave them out for everybody to see. But this is the way they did it. So let's just be clear on that part. It came about at sunset that Joshua gave a command, and they took them down from the trees and threw them into the cave where they had hidden them themselves, and put large stones over the mouth of the cave to this very day. Now Joshua captured Makkedah on that day and struck it and its king with the edge of the sword. He utterly destroyed it and every person who was in it. He left no survivor. Thus he did to the king of Makkedah, just as he had done to the king of Jericho. Man, I don't know, if you're still a king in their region, why are you still there in their region? I mean, I'm just saying, they're destroying all these things. Even when they just had 5 kingdoms come together, right? 5 kingdoms came together to do one thing, and they utterly failed. They didn't even see them coming. We were talking again at the Battle of Shiloh. How did 300 people? This is another thing he told us. The guy that was in charge of the 300 people, of the Union officers, had just written a letter to have sent out saying, "Didn't see anything yesterday. Don't expect to see anything today." But yet, half a mile away, you got 40,000 people. Or 4,400. It was 1,000 or 4,400. 44,000 people half a mile away from you, and you don't see it? How do you miss it, man? Aren't you sending out a couple people who go around your camp just walking and looking? And back then, they used to let cattle, roam everywhere. You fenced your house in, but you kept the cattle outside. Today, we fence the cattle in and keep our house outside. But point being, they've got the brush cleared out so you can see through the trees. They didn't see that half a mile away. Here, these people didn't see Israel coming out at all. So if I'm another king in the area in the promised land, I'm beyond nervous. I'm getting out of there because they're killing all the kings. They're impaling every one of the kings. I'm sitting there thinking, I've got enough time to get my gold on a wagon and make haste. But they're not doing that. But again, I'm just trying to put things in perspective because it's pretty clear what's going to happen. Then Joshua and all Israel with him passed on from Makkedah to Libnah and fought against Libnah. The Lord gave it to him. Gave it also with its king into the hands of Israel, and he struck it and every person who was in it with the edge of the sword. He left no survivors in it. Thus he did to its king, just as he had done to the king of Jericho. And Joshua and all of Israel with him passed on from Libnah to Lachish, and they camped by it and fought against it. And the Lord gave Lachish into the hands of Israel, and he captured it on the 2nd day. And he struck it, and every person was in it with the edge of the sword, according to all that he had done to Libnah. Now I'm going to pause for a second to make a couple clarifications here. Now, when they left that morning to go out there and support their slaves, if you will, did they pack for a long trip? Or did they pack to just go out and hopefully fight and, call it a day, right? Go back home. Because keep in mind, when they went up there, they knew Well, once we win, just thinking realistically, one, I can tell my slaves to feed me. That's not an issue. Two, well, the army we're fighting against, those 5 kingdoms, they brought supplies with them. We'll have supplies. So then they go on, and Joshua's having them go ahead and head out the next way. Well, great, so be it. They don't have to worry about having supplies because they know their supplies. They know they have supplies. It's not an issue. They can go take them from the city they're about to destroy. They know God's on their side, so they're not worried about having all these supplies. So when they hey, okay, we're going to camp here for the night. Well, what? Yeah, we can camp with their slaves. In fact, slaves, you all sleep outside tonight. I'm going to use your bed. Good night.
Their food might have been like the manna where it just showed
Yeah.
up again.
Well, it could, but the manna we know stopped. But I think that the food was there because the supplies were already there. All these cities that they're taking, what? Like they only have one day's supply? They've got ton of food in these cities. So the reality is they're not having to think about that. Because that's initially something that was kind of bothering me is how do they have all this food? Where's all this coming? No, it's all there. Think about it. They're taking these cities. They got all they want. In excess. Stuff yourselves. Get ready for another fight the next day. You can do it. It's not going to hurt you any. Okay.